Hello, Madonna.
Hello.
Thanks to be with us.
My pleasure.
Malawi was a very secret country in the 90s because of President Banda. How did you discover this country?
How did I discover it?
Yeah.
Well, a woman who was born and raised there and had been living there, all her life, who owned a big fertilizing company, became very involved with the sort of the orphan emergency, and she was very involved in raising awareness for AIDS and the over 1 million children who'd been orphaned by AIDS, and she was desperately reaching out to various people for help, and I was one of those people. So that's how I got pulled into it. And when she called me, I had never heard of Malawi also. So
You're a celebrity, so I imagine you receive a lot of proposition to
help?
take care of, to help people.
Yeah.
Why do you choose this particular one? Because of your past fight against AIDS?
Partly it was because of my involvement with, AIDS awareness since the early 80s. And I lost a lot of friends to the disease, but also because I now have children, and because the problem was so huge in Malawi, and there's so many vulnerable children there. I think that was the other thing that pulled me in and got my attention. Yeah.
When you went for the first time to Malawi, what was your first impression? Tell me.
Well, it was incredible. My first impression was I saw an incredible amount of suffering, but I also saw an incredible amount of love. So it was confusing because I was swinging from one end of the pendulum to one side of the pendulum to the other, thinking, oh, this is horrible. This is the most horrible thing I've ever seen, to, oh my God, these are the most amazing, beautiful people I've ever seen. So it was confusing. And I went back and forth between thinking I could make a difference and I could be helpful and I could change the situation. And then sometimes I would come home at the end of a long day and think, oh, it's hopeless. There's too much to do. I can't. I give up. I think a lot of people feel that way.
And what was the relation of the people of Malawi and you? Did they know who you are and what you were doing?
I don't think they did in the beginning, but then the press showed up and they made such a big deal about me. To them, I was just a white woman from the Western world with blonde hair who was coming to help them. And they were a little bit suspicious, and as they are of all outsiders, until the thing about a lot of developing countries is people don't want, so many people show up to help and then they leave and they never come back. And so there's a lot of wariness and suspicion, and people don't want to make themselves vulnerable to you or open to you because they don't know if you really mean to help them or stay around, or you mean it for the long run. So I think in the beginning it was a little bit of wariness and suspicion, but not knowing who I was. And then of course the press showed up, and then they were taking my picture and chasing me everywhere. So then of course they were thinking, who is this person? And then they figured it out, but I would have preferred to remain anonymous.
You say that children of Malawi made you learn more about yourself and humanity than anything else in your life. Can you tell me more about that?
Because the situation there is so extreme. When you see a lot of extreme suffering, you just, first of all, you have to put your own life in perspective and think, oh my God, I have nothing to complain about. But the other thing is, when you see people who have so little, who don't have food, who don't have homes, who don't have a roof over their head, who don't have parents, and yet you see they're still capable of smiling and experiencing happiness and joy, it also gives you an appreciation for life. So I think those two extremes are kind of a wake-up call to help you examine your own life and put things in perspective in a way that nothing else could.
At what moment did you decide to produce a documentary and to give your voice to that movie?
Well, I decided I wanted to make a film as soon as I went there. Actually, before I went there. But then when I went there, I was 100% sure. As far as being the narrator and having such an intimate, personal point of view in the film, it took me a while to come to that conclusion, because at first I wasn't sure that I should be in it or it should be my voice. But I did a version of the film where I tried to remain distant from the movie, and I narrated it, but not really talking about my own personal experiences. And I showed a rough cut of it to Michael Moore, and he said that it would help the audience understand better if I took them on the journey that I went on personally. So then I changed it and made it more intimate.
You're, of course, very implicated in that cause. Is it for you a way to give back something, because life and work give you so much?
Yes, I mean, it's one of the many ways I want to give back and intend to give back. I've been incredibly blessed all my life with the opportunities to express myself artistically for over 25 years, and I have an incredible family and a great circle of friends, and especially now when the whole world is in this crazy economic crisis and recession and depression, and I feel very lucky, and I feel like it's the least I can do.
You were talking about the economical crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Are you afraid that that particular crisis could be bad for that cause? I mean, that money...
I think for all charitable causes, I think when people are going through economic crises, the first thing they do is stop being charitable, and all philanthropic enterprises suffer immeasurably. So it's not just my foundation, but I'm going to keep it going, so whatever happens.
Are you waiting something special of President Obama for Africa in general? Because
I think President Obama has his hands full with America right now, but I think unfortunately he's come in at a very tricky time. So once he fixes that situation, or starts to fix that situation, he can start thinking about Africa and the Middle East and lots of other things that need to be thought about.
It's always the case when a celebrity takes care of something.
Mm-hmm.
It was the case for Marlon Brando or for George Clooney with Darfur. There's always someone
With
to
who?
be...
For Darfur?
George Clooney.
George Clooney. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
There's always someone to be suspicious.
Oh, well, that's
about
their
it.
problem.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Is it not touching you?
No.
No, you're not angry about
There's
it?
always someone suspicious about everything. All the time. People, yeah, but you can't waste your time worrying about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise you wouldn't get anything done.
When you say that that experience changed your life,
Mm-hmm.
how much that changed your life? In what way?
But you already asked me that question. I said it made me feel more appreciative for what I
Mm-hmm.
had, and made me feel ashamed for feeling like I had anything to complain about, or, I mean, yeah, both of those things, gratitude and appreciation.
You mean more than producing a movie, because you adopt a child
Mm-hmm.
in Malawi. It was, the word is not good, but it was logical for you to go further than just a movie?
Yes, well, if I could have, I would have adopted 50 of them, but as it turns out, just adopting one is quite a challenge, so yeah. Why not?
Why not? Yeah. How did you? It's a personal question. If you don't want to answer, it's no problem for me.
Don't worry, I won't if I don't like it.
How do you talk your natural children of David?
How do I talk to them?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't need to talk to them. They knew I was going to Africa, and they knew about the orphan situation before I went there, and they were very supportive of the idea of adopting, and they were very excited about him. And when he came home, he was accepted immediately into the family, and there were no questions asked. And he's their brother, and that's it.
I understand that when you came to Malawi, it was a big shock for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the need to show them what it is to take them to Malawi, I mean your children?
Well, my daughter Lola has already been, and she's worked in the orphanages there and taking care of small newborn babies, many of them who are HIV positive, and she was amazing. I couldn't believe she worked in the orphanages 8 hours a day, and she became an adult before my very eyes, and I'm going to go again, and I'm going to bring my son this time as well, and they're both he's gonna have his hands full teaching boys how to play chess and soccer and all kinds of things. So,
could you imagine one day to maybe stop thinking, stop touring, and just doing that kind of thing that is very important for you? I mean, taking care of others.
Yeah, I could imagine it, sure, because it's very time consuming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows what the future holds?
And are there other big causes that you want to take care of? Yeah.
Are there big causes?
Yeah.
Well, I think the AIDS epidemic, raising awareness, doing what we can to get medicine that can save people's lives and keep people alive who are HIV positive, that's a really big job. And, you know, the AIDS epidemic is still thriving and, you know, out of control in many places in the world still. So that's a big job. And also taking care of all the children who've been orphaned by AIDS. I mean, those two jobs right there are pretty time consuming. So not just in Africa, but in India and South America. I mean, it's going on all over the place, in Haiti.
We were in Cannes last May to see that movie. It was a press conference, and there was a lot of people and a lot of friends around you. Is it important for you to be there, not just to send the movie in several countries, but to be there, to talk about it?
Yes, because places like Cannes are gathering spots for people. Then it's good if you want to make a big impact. You have a message to get across, then you want to be where people are listening. Yeah.
Especially in France, because I came from France, so
well,
I have
of course.
my French question.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I've always found France to be very sympathetic to causes that I'm also interested in, so it's lucky for me. But France seems to champion the underdogs a lot, and so I like that. I don't know, maybe that's why we have an affinity, me and France.
I think that this work, this documentary, is an act of freedom, and I think you're incredibly freedom because you can do a record, a tour, whenever you want, but make that kind of work. It's freedom. That's freedom. You agree with this?
Yeah, to be able to make the film and to get it out there and to talk to people about it, to be able to help people, that's freedom. I agree. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
De rien.